Hey everyone, I'm just going to be showing you some of the pieces in my rig at the moment. Well, you couldn't really call it a rig, it's just my stuff. And I'll sort of run through my gear choices and how I got the most out of my gear. One of the important things is picking the right gear and building it up piece by piece and choosing things that enhance what you've got. Sometimes you don't have to spend a lot of money to get something really nice, and sometimes a cheaper amplifier can really be opened up with just a couple of pedals and really make a difference. So that's one thing to think about when you want to buy an amp, is that if you just plug straight into the shop with a guitar off the rack behind it, it's, you know, you need to be testing things with your own gear. So every time you buy something, take your gear into the shop and try and test it, and you can get the most out of what you've got. So this is my current amp. It's a Hughes and Kettner Tubemeister 18 watt head, and this is a great little head. It's a little tube amp, and it's got two EL84s in it, and then two 12 AX7s. And it's a 2-channel amp. I wish I could turn it around, but it's all wired up. So you've got your stereotypical 3-band EQ here. Unfortunately, it does share the 3-band for both channels, but I'll show you how to get around that. And then you have a lead channel and your clean channel. So your clean channel has its own gain setting and a master volume, and the lead has the same as well. You also have a lead boost and a channel switch. And you got the input, and then you got your power and your standby on there. And we'll just flip around to the back. Okay, so on the back we have the multi-watt setting. This is a really cool feature of the amp, is that you can change it from 1 watt, 2 watts, 5 watts, and then you can turn the speaker output completely off. So you can do silent recording and stuff like that because it has a red box DI out. And then you have the foot switch controller, and then the effects loop. And I'll go into more about these two later because that's a really important piece of my gear. And then you have an 8 or 16 ohm speaker output, and then the power. So with the multi-watt capabilities, usually I'll have it either on the 1 watt or the 18 watt setting. So you can change it between the two. 1 watts is really good for getting a little bit more power tube breakup at lower volumes, although 1 watt is still incredibly loud if you let it, and you still have to be really careful with how you set the volume on your amp. And the 18 watt is the same. You can still get pretty good low volumes if you want to like practice at 12 o'clock at night or something like that, which was what I was doing last night. And you just have to be really careful. And the 18 watts, like if you think about a solid state amplifier, you think, 100 watts sounds like a lot, and 18 watts doesn't sound like much at all. If you think about a full tube head like a dual rectifier or something like that, it's 100 watt, or a triple is 150. You would think that this would not be very loud because it's 18 watts, which is absolutely not true. And I don't even have to crank the volume in the 5 watt setting to keep up with the drum kit. So an 18 watt setting, it's very loud, and I constantly have complaints from other people in the house telling me to turn it down. So I'll go in a little bit more depth about that in a minute. But I'd like to concentrate on the effects loop and the foot switch now, and I'll go to my pedal board. Now this horrible mess, this is my pedal board. I just built this out of a aluminium case. So I built it out of one of these boxes. I just bought this off eBay. I think it was, $30 or something like that. Pretty tough. And then this is the lid. So all I did is I took the lid and I put some really good glue on the inside of it, and then put some marine carpet down. You can use Velcro or something like that, but the marine carpet was free because my brother-in-law works at a carpet shop, so he just cut me off a slice of this. And then you just put Velcro on the bottom of the pedals. Just like that. So just like a little bit of Velcro, and they all stick nicely. And the whole idea is that I just have to unplug the cables that run to the back of the amp, and then I can just slip this over the top and take it to a friend's house for a jam or something like that. I don't gig currently, but it would be useful for that as well. So this is the signal chain. This is the guitar. So it runs to your pedal tuner. These are incredibly important. And I use it a lot, not just for tuning, but also for getting, like, just muting the guitar. You can use the volume knob on your guitar as well, but sometimes I'll just stomp on that if I want it perfectly silent. I have a Yo-Yo overdrive here, which is like a Tube Screamer clone. Noise suppressor to control squeal when you're in high gain and the amp's cranked. And then you'll notice I have 2 EQs and then 2 types of delays, and these are all Yo-Yo pedals here. Which comes to this. This is a custom-made loopmaster pedal, and what it does is it's a true bypass pedal that has two effects loops in it. So I'm able to run the digital delay and an EQ pedal in one loop, and then I run EQ, the chorus pedal, the analog delay in the other. And the reason I do that is because the Tubemeister's a 2-channel amp, but it only shares one set of EQ knobs on the amp itself, and I found that it was pretty limiting. I could either get a really good dirty sound or I could get a really good clean sound. So what I wanted to do was get good sound out of both. And another thing that I didn't want to have to do is if I wanted to change delays or chorus or something like that, I didn't want to have to be tap dancing around on the pedal board going, oh, I've got to turn off the chorus and I'm going to turn off the delay and then I have to turn off the EQ. I didn't want to have to do that. I wanted to minimize the amount of stomping that I needed to do. Because I'm not a great guitar player, I struggle with thinking about what I need to do playing, let alone having to switch pedals and stuff like that. So these 2 pedals here are in one loop of this, and then these 3 here are in the other. And the way that works is the effects loop send on the amp goes into the pedal, and then the return goes back to the amp. So, and then you have a send going into the delay, the EQ, the delay, and then back to the return, and then the same for this. So it means that I can switch between the 2 with only one stomp. Now this switch here, this controls the channel on the amp and the loop. So you see the red button, the red LED here, that changes to the dirty channel on the amp and simultaneously changes to the EQ and the digital delay, whether or not I have this on or off. I always have this on, but I usually don't run the delay very often. But with one stomp I can switch to the dirty channel and have the EQ ready, or change to the clean channel and my super chorus and the analog delay are already set, and then the EQ here is already there. It's ready to go. Settings are, the cables have changed the settings on this, but I run them a little bit different. I like a slightly scooped sound, not too much super scoop, like a Master of Puppets tone or something like that. Like a little bit of mids for some more cut. But in the clean sound, I like a lot more mids, and I have to back off the treble and the bass a little bit. So I'll go in a little bit more that later. And then in the front end, the signal chain goes from the guitar into the tuner, into the overdrive, into the noise gate, and then this cable here goes to the input of the amp. And the reason why I use this as not as a drive pedal, but as a clean boost. So what you do is you get your drive setting and you dial that to 0, and then you get the volume and you pump that to full, and then you just use your tone to suit whatever your preference is. And what that does is it hits the amp a lot harder, which means that you don't have to dial the gain as much, and it sort of gives you a little bit more. It's kind of like running higher output pickup. So if you're running like a passive pickup and you need a little bit more thump to it, a little bit Like if you prefer sort of an EMG pickup sound where it's very tight and there's lots of output, but you also like your passive pickups, but you want to hit the front end of the amp a little bit harder, this is what I use this for. Okay, so I'll do a little bit of demo of that on and off. And another great thing about this is that you're able to dial the gain on the amp in the preamp way down, which means that you get more clarity, more tone out of it, and then you hit it with this, and then suddenly you're back in high gain territory, but you still get all the clarity and all the tone that you get from dialing back the gain, which is really, really good.